What's up, y'all? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Scorpio TV. This time we have Lighthouse Horror. My neighbor has a house full of mannequins. I think they're alive. Creepypasta, scary story. Uploaded April 15th, 2022. Now, I believe it's been a little minute since we had Lighthouse Horror on the channel. He's another one of the dope creepypasta guys on YouTube that I mess with. I definitely put him up there with my other creepypasta guys. Y'all who've been rocking with me for a while, y'all already know who my top creepypasta guys are, so we don't even got to go into that. But Lighthouse is definitely dope. He's definitely got the potential to be a top fiver if he's not already there. So, as usual, y'all already know where all the important links are going to be. Man, let's get into this.
My name's Nat, which is short for Nathaniel. My best friend is called Aldous, so he goes by Al. He has a twin sister, Ant, which is the only version of her actual name, Antonia, that she will answer to. To this day, we have no idea what our parents were thinking when they named us. I would describe the estate where we lived as ordinary. That's not a compliment or an insult. It's just how things are. The houses are tidy looking, the gardens well tended. Most of the adults have steady, okay paid jobs. Most of the kids are fine going to school and are doing well. The most dramatic thing to happen last year was a man on his estate crashing his car into his garage door because he was too busy talking on his mobile phone to see it hadn't opened automatically. Al and Ant live next door to me. When we were little, we tried digging a secret tunnel under the fence between our backyards. It was going really well until Al got stuck and I had to run and go find my dad to help get him out. That was years ago. We're not kids anymore. Sometimes our parents still treat us like we are, though, which drives us mad. Steam coming out of our ears angry. Pizza always makes us feel better, especially when accompanied by a horror movie. We love scary films. Our favorites were all made before we were born, and we rarely bothered with new movies that are being streamed. On Saturday, we were trying to decide what to re-watch next when we saw an ambulance drive past the window. Its siren wasn't flashing, but on a street as quiet as ours, this counted as excitement and needed to be investigated. We wandered outside, doing our best to look like we weren't interested, as we always tried to do when there were other people around. The ambulance was pulling up outside the house at the end of our street. I glanced at Al, who glanced at Ant, then we walked down to where the ambulance was. There was a police car parked up as well. Our view of it had been blocked at first by the ambulance. One of the cops was talking into a radio. The other was filling out a form. Even the cops on our street brought the excitement levels down. The back door of the ambulance and the front door of the house were both open. A moment later, we saw why. The paramedics emerged carrying a stretcher. There was a body on the stretcher covered from head to toe in a sheet. It might have been something other than a body, but I doubted it. Gross, Al muttered under his breath. Totally, Ant added. I was thinking what I could contribute to this deep conversation when someone yelled at us, "Hey, you lot, get lost." It was one of the cops, the one who'd been on the radio. The other cop was looking up from his form and glaring at us. I don't think it was because we'd made him mess up his paperwork. I looked at Al and Ant. They were both red-faced and moving away. I fell into step behind them. None of us said anything more about what had just happened. It was hard to know what to say. None of us had known the lady who lived in the house at the end of our street. We didn't even know her name. Sometimes we'd see her walking slowly down the sidewalk, pushing a bag of groceries balanced on a funny-looking trolley with wheels. After supper, I asked my mom if she knew what had happened to the lady. She glanced up from her tablet and said, "Not really. I think one of her neighbors was concerned because they hadn't seen her in a long while, so they phoned the police, who swung by to do a welfare check, and, well, it's sad, but it's part of life, I'm afraid." She studied my face, waiting, I guess, to see if I needed any more comforting words of parental wisdom. I took my opportunity. Mom, what do you think will happen to the mannequin? Mom opened her mouth, closed it again.
What?
I could almost hear the cogs turning in her brain. Well, she said eventually, I suppose it'll be passed on to someone else as part of her will, or left in the house with the rest of her stuff till a new person buys the property. Why do you ask? Now it was my turn for some serious thinking. The mannequin was different, you see. It was the one thing that made our estate different. Not just different in fact,
What the hell?
but weird. It was life-sized, plastic-looking, and accessorized to look like a woman. A curly brown wig cascaded down over the shoulders of a floral dress with long sleeves. It had makeup on, eyeliner, and bright red lipstick, and it was positioned so that it was sitting down, looking out of the lady's front window. It was creepy. When we were little, around the time of the fence incident, we would dare each other to walk right up to the window and have a staring competition with it. Its eyes were fat smudges of blue. I was always a sucker for accepting this dare, and would spend endless minutes, real eyeball to plastic eyeball with the mannequin, until the time Al sneaked up behind me and tapped me on the shoulder and I screamed. After that, I said playing dare was stupid every time the subject came up. Now we were older, the mannequin didn't bother us, of course. We were too cool and streetwise for that. Only that was a lie. The mannequin still fascinated us. Its stare as you walked past was hypnotic. Even if you kept your eyes firmly fixed on the ground, you could feel its painted eyes burning into you. So yes, the mannequin in the window was something else. I looked up. My mom had actually left the room. I followed after her, and she was sprawled out on the sofa next to my dad. A game show host was talking over contestants who were trying to decide who was older, Chris Pratt, Chris Hemsworth, or Chris Pine. Chris Pine, my mom said. Hemsworth, my dad said. I found out they were both wrong, and then asked, why do you think the lady that lived at the end of our street had the mannequin in her window? Without looking away from the TV screen, my mom replied, I don't know. I know that she was married, but he left her, and afterwards she became withdrawn. Why? I asked. I guess she was depressed. My mom answered. Then the quiz show host asked, which country in South America has the largest number of mountains? And I lost her. I went up to my room and laid on my bed and wondered about the mannequin and the woman who had lived in the house. She must have been lonely after her husband had gone, and now she was dead. Thinking this way made me pretty sad, and the next thing I knew, I was waking up fully dressed, half in and half out of my bed, with the sun streaming in through the windows. It was Sunday. My phone buzzed. Sleepily, I rolled over and retrieved it from the floor. There was a message on our group chat. It was from Aunt, and it read, we have to go see. I went straight back. With what? It was Al who answered, the mannequin. Aunt added, this time we all have to kiss it.
What?
I wrote, you're sick. But they had me. Hook, line, and sinker. This was going to be fun.
What?
I met them out on the street. My nerves were tingling, and although all we'd done so far was stand there and try not to laugh, I felt we had guilt written all over our faces. What if we get caught? I whispered when I said this, even though the only person within earshot was mowing his lawn and had ear defenders on. We'll say we got lost, Al said. Aunt turned to look at him and said with a straight face, I am never hiring you as my lawyer. Which cracked me up, and I was wiping tears from my eyes as we walked up to the house at the end of our street. How will we get in? It was Al's turn to whisper. I saw someone on TV last week pick a lock with a hairpin. I replied, equally quietly. What's a hairpin? Al asked. Something women and girls use. I told him. Oh. he said, and we both turned to his sister and asked, Aunt, do you have a... Only we never finished, because the front door was open and she was standing in the hallway. The police must not have locked it, she said. Now, will the two of you get in here before someone sees us? We hurried in, closed the door behind us as quietly as we could. Then Al said, Of course, we've already been seen. I was worried. Who by? I asked. The mannequin in the window, he replied. I slapped him gently on the arm. Aunt intervened. Will you two clowns stop messing around and pucker up? There's some plastic lips that need kissing. Get a move on, she told us, and started to herd us forward. But we never made it as far as the front room where the mannequin sat looking out the window, because we'd seen what was in the room at the end of the hallway. The door was wide open, and there was no mistaking it. There was another mannequin in there. Awesome,
What?
Al exclaimed, and jogged into the room.
How's that
We
awesome?
followed and almost bumped into him, where he'd ground to a halt. His mouth was hanging open, and now so was mine.
It looked like Slender
The
Man.
mannequin we'd seen from out in the hall was dressed as a man. It had a suit on and brown shiny shoes and a black wig. Standing next to it was another mannequin. This had a watch on and a casual shirt and slacks. A bag with golf clubs in it stood propped against the wall. The blinds were drawn and it was pretty gloomy in the room, but there was no mistaking what we were seeing. Al was the first to speak. What on earth? Maybe she collected them, Aunt interrupted. You know, after her husband left her, like a hobby. Collecting mannequins is a pretty odd hobby,
Hell yeah.
I said. I wonder if she has more, Aunt continued. Well, there's only one way to find out,
Oh,
I said, and we set off to explore the rest of the house.
you're supposed to be the smart
And
one.
yes, there were more mannequins. There was one in the dining room, where again the blinds were drawn. It had on a dressing gown and was positioned on a seat at the table. There was a bowl in front of it, and a newspaper propped up against a cereal box. There was one in the bathroom. It wore a vest and boxer shorts and had shaving foam on its plastic chin. This is really weird, Al said. I think it's sad, Aunt replied. Al looked as puzzled as I did. What do you mean? I asked. Well, I think when her husband left her, the lady must have missed him really badly. Aunt continued. So badly. She got these mannequins and dressed them in his stuff and posed them so they're doing things he used to do. That's insane, I said. Totally. Al agreed,
I get it.
then added brightly, Hey, there's one room we haven't looked in. He opened the last door in the hallway, and, laughing, we all went in. The last room was a bedroom. It was pretty sparse. There was a double bed, a little table next to it with a lamp on, and a fitted closet. I said the obvious, because, well, someone needed to. There's no mannequins in here. Al peered under the bed. Or here, he said with a smile. Aunt frowned and said, We haven't looked in that closet. No problem, I said with a grin of my own, and slid open the closet door. I heard Al gasp. Aunt whispered, Oh my God. My guts cramped, and it felt like the blood in my veins had turned to ice.
Jesus
Its
Christ.
fingernails were long and twisted. Its tangled, dust-coated hair hung down almost to its waist. Moths had eaten away the clothes it wore, exposing its body in places. Its skin was shriveled, wrapped tightly over its bones. The body, looking out at us with its empty, dead eyes. We turned and ran, falling over each other in our desperation to get away, and made it back to Aunt and Al's house. We're in Al's room now. We should phone the police, but we're too scared we'll be in trouble because
Right.
we went in the house when we shouldn't.
Right.
We know we'll have to tell our parents, though. that we found the husband, that he hadn't left her after all. Our parents are at a barbecue, an ordinary thing to do on an ordinary estate. Only, it'll never feel that way for us again. Not after the horror we witnessed in the House of Mannequins.
Shouts out to Lighthouse Horror. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. That was a good ass video, no cap. There's a couple questions. Like, first of all, if that was the husband that was in the closet, how did the police, the investigators, all that, aren't they supposed to search every room, every area, every nook and cranny of the house when there's a death that happens there? I mean, I'm not a cop. I mean, that's what I plan to do in the future. But isn't that how it's supposed to go? Like, they literally opened the closet door and this man's remains, his skeleton, whatever you want to call it, was literally standing right there in the closet. Aren't the police and all that, aren't they supposed to search all the closets, all the rooms, the basement, if there is one, all that, the whole entire house? Like, how the hell did they miss that? That's the first question. The second question, why didn't the police and whoever else lock the house up after they took the old lady out of it? Right? The third question, what the hell is with the main guy? He's supposed to be the smart guy, but he's the one, like, coming up with some of the stupid schemes and shit like that. Like, no, bro, you're supposed to let old boy and his sister do all that, and you stay at the front door. Or just not go in there at all. Simple as that. That's the third question. The fourth question, is, every single mannequin was a male, but the one in the window. So is the one at the window supposed to be her, or what? Because the kid said that all the other mannequins were like supposed to be the husband, and things he would do and ways he would dress and stuff like that. I get all that, but what's with the woman at the window? Was that supposed to be her or what? But yeah, when I was like listening to the story, it's like it was such a build up and it was creepy as hell. That's what made me watch this in the first place. I saw mannequins like in the title. I was like, oh shit. Like, mannequins, if done correctly, can be scary as hell. Even in real life videos or animated videos, whatever you want to call it. I didn't know this was going to be an animated horror story on top of a creepypasta. But I like that. I like how it wasn't just the voice talking over a thumbnail like it usually is. There's no problem with that. But this is definitely a nice change from what I'm used to when it comes to creepypasta videos. I'm just used to a voice talking over, you know, a thumbnail, or every now and then like an animation going on in the background. Never like this where it's like going along with the actual story. And that's really dope. That's really, really dope. Y'all who watch creepypastas and listen to creepypastas, y'all know what I'm getting at. This is definitely a nice change, that the story was actually going along with the narration. Like the characters, like the storyline, all the details and stuff like that. So again, shouts out to Lighthouse Horror. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I know I enjoyed it. I hope you drop a like, a comment, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that bell icon is tapped. I want you all to stay safe, stay blessed, stay humble, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.